Alrighty, I'm Navi, and today we're going to be reading some special Yes, You're the Asshole, where we take a look and find ourselves confused as to why OP cannot recognize that yes, they're being an asshole.
This was given to us by a tiny pastel unicorn.
Am I the asshole for telling my wife it's ridiculous to cry over soup? My wife is 4 months pregnant with our 5th child. You're the asshole. But let's continue. We have a 7-year-old girl, a 6-year-old girl, 4-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old boy now. Since childcare is so expensive, she's been staying home. Money is tight right now, and her car broke down, so we've been relying on mine. She texted me and told me she was craving a particular can of soup, so I bought it and I brought it home. She placed it on the counter and said she would make it after she gave the kids a bath. While she was upstairs, my dad came over and mentioned that he was hungry, so I told him to help himself to anything in the kitchen as we had just had dinner right before that. Well, he ended up leaving to go home, and my wife came downstairs, and then I heard her frantically searching for something. I asked what she was doing. She said she was looking for the soup that she'd left out. I told her I hadn't seen it and that my dad came over, but he usually doesn't eat canned foods. I called him, and he admitted that he did in fact take it, and he was sorry because he was unaware she was saving it. When I told her this, she started sobbing and saying she could never have just one thing in this house, and how bad she was craving it and wanting it so badly. She cried for almost an hour over it. Later, I told her that she was being ridiculous and that she was an adult and crying over something as stupid as a can of soup was for children. You're the asshole, but let's continue. She told me I didn't understand and that she's been feeling very emotional lately and stressed. I talked to my mom, who told me that I needed to give her grace, and that my words were very asshole-ish. So, am I the asshole? Thankfully, this OP added an edit after Reddit tore them a new one. Edit. When I leave for work, I'm gonna go buy her all the vegetable soup that they have in stock. Also, when I say money is tight, I don't mean that we're struggling to survive. We took out a loan to build 3 extra bedrooms onto our home. Her car broke down about 2 months ago. I do leave her the car if she needs to take our daughters and sons to their therapy appointments or she wants to go somewhere. I was also outside the building when my dad came over. He stops by to see if I need help building the rooms. My wife was upstairs for a while doing bedtime routines, so they didn't see each other. I'll apologize and do the bedtime routine tonight and pick out the scariest shark movie I can find. She loves Jaws movies, so we'll spend some time together. I do love my wife, even if it doesn't appear that way. Also, yes, we have 5 kids, but we wanted a big family. I wanted 3 and she wanted 4. I was an only child and she came from a big family, so we had 4. She had been using the type of birth control that you insert, and it went through her uterus. We found out about this baby at the same time. We both agreed we wanted this child. She told the doctor the same day that after the delivery, she wanted her tubes tied. We aren't struggling to survive. We have food and shelter and clothes, and occasionally we go out to dinner and we take our kids to fun places. The only issue is childcare because it is cheaper for her to stay home, and she asked me if it would be okay until our youngest goes to preschool. We may have a lot of kids, but we do take care of them. I work long hours at 2 jobs and pretty exhausted when I come home, plus I'm building rooms for our children, but I do help with my children, and I love my family. So it seems like Reddit was able to get through to this OP, which is wonderful. It seems like he was finally able to recognize that he was a bit of an asshole in this situation. I'm guessing he's probably pretty exhausted too and maybe took his crankiness out on her without realizing he was doing so. But I'm glad that the 2 of them have made up, and I'm glad that he's going to start helping with the kids more. It's really wonderful, and I really, really hope next time you just make your wife the soup. Am I the asshole for taking my godmother's cutting board? I, 27 female, have just moved out of the house I grew up in. My mother died when I was 9 years old, and my godmother adopted me since my mom had no living family. I never liked my godmother because she was way better off than my mom, but she never reached out to help us when my mom was sick. She let my mom die. What? She let my mom die and thought she could just scoop me up and play happy family. What? However, I never let her buy me, and now that I'm finished with my master's, I'm able to get away from her, as I'm no longer an unemployed student and spent the past 18 years trapped in her home, completely dependent. What? My mother didn't have many things, and most of the things that we had were repossessed when I was taken by my godmother. The rest of the things she kept in a storage bin, which I had to get myself as I was leaving. I think she fully intended to keep it. My mom and my godmother were friends who met in secondary school and loved cooking together, so since before I was born, she'd been using a cutting board that my mom made. It's a very pretty thing that she hand-carved, and I think it would make an amazing decoration. But my godmother won't let me keep it and hang it in my room like I wanted to as a kid. I felt like it was something of my mother's, and she never paid for it, so why should she be able to keep a gift from a friend that she never reached out to except to steal her daughter? What? So I went to the kitchen, and I took it as I was leaving. What? This morning, my dad, my godmother's husband, called me and told me how frantic and upset she was. Your dad is your godmother's husband? He said that it was the only thing she had to remember my mom by, that I shouldn't have taken it from her, and went on about how she did her best and didn't deserve to lose everything that reminded her of her friend. I blew up at him and I told him that it wasn't some trinket for her to remember my mom, and I wouldn't be guilted into giving away my mother's keepsakes. What? I thought I was in the right until I told a friend about it, and she said I was being cartoonishly evil, cartoon supervillain, to a woman who raised and cared for me just as much as my mom. I tried to explain to her that she was only raising me because she couldn't have children herself, excuse me. And if she actually cared for my mom, she'd have tried to help us back then, but she said I was being cruel. That shook me, so I'm here to ask for judgment. Am I the asshole? Should I let her keep one of the few things my mother was able to leave me? I'm sorry, no. She didn't leave it for you. You're the asshole here. She left it for her. Oh my gosh. So there's a lot to unpack here. So why don't we take a look at what Reddit had to say? The first comment says, you're the asshole, leaving aside what, to me, sounds like misplaced anger for your mother's death. Taking the cutting board is pure pettiness. Your friend's right. This does sound like a cartoon supervillain. Another person responded with, get therapy. You hate your godmother for being more wealthy and suggest that this wealth could have saved your mom. Displaced anger from mom dying. My heart hurts for you. Get professional help for the misplaced anger and the unprocessed grief. Another comment reads, you're the asshole. It was never your board. Please get some counseling. There's a lot to unpack, but mostly this hatred you feel for a woman who was your mom's best friend who took you in and raised you. As a godmother, your mom designated her to raise you. It wasn't a whim where she swooped in and took you home. I can only imagine how hard it was for you to lose your mom at 9, and that alone deserves some time with a therapist. Keep the board if you want, as you're trying to sever all ties with a woman who raised you to adulthood, but you're still the asshole. Someone responded with, also, you were a kid. You don't know what went on between your godmother and your mom. Moms shield their children from the ugliness of their illness. You're only assuming she wasn't there, and all she did was love and take care of you. A third comment reads, you're the asshole. She's been using the cutting board since before you were born. You had no right to it. And ridiculously, OP responds with, But that's not fair, though, is it? The least she could have done was give me the one nice thing my mum left. Why would you keep something like that from a woman's grieving daughter? Oh my goodness. Oh my It sounds like you're trying to imply that your mother didn't leave anything else of quality except this cutting board. Nothing else that she left, which you said that she left quite a bit of things in a storage bin. None of that was quality? None of that was worth you keeping and having and hanging in your room as a keepsake? Only the thing your mother made for her friend, which of course her friend didn't pay for it if it was a gift. That's the only thing that you want? Yikes. Unfortunately, OP spent the rest of the thread getting downvoted to heck. So here's a montage of all that. If you liked this content and you'd like to see more, please remember to feed the algorithm by liking, commenting, and subscribing. As always, I love you, and I hope you have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye bye boo.